An Egyptian slave, pregnant, cast into a desert that should have killed her. Hagar became the only person in Scripture to name God. But what her desert journey reveals about being seen begins with how completely she was erased. In ancient households like Abram's, power was written into every relationship. Hagar is named first not as a woman, but as an Egyptian slave. Her identity is reduced to ethnicity and servitude. The Nuzi tablets from the 2nd millennium BCE echo her story. A barren wife could give her slave to her husband, hoping for an heir, but the slave remained property, not partner. Even if she bore a child, she would never belong. Hagar's body became a vessel for someone else's hope, her future tied to Sarai's desperation and Abram's silence. The household law was clear. Sarai held the authority, and Hagar's pregnancy would not free her. Every gesture, every command, every look reminded Hagar of her place: foreign, female, expendable. The risk of carrying a child in this arrangement was not just physical. At any sign of threat or rivalry, a slave girl could be cast out, her life and her child's hanging by the whim of those who owned her. Pregnant and alone, Hagar steps into the desert. Every breath is a gamble. The sun strips her strength, sand grinds into her skin, and thirst claws at her throat. There is no shelter, no promise of food, no hand to steady her as her body aches with the weight of new life. Hunger gnaws at her resolve. The wilderness offers only silence and the threat of violence from roaming bandits or wild animals. Each step away from the household is a step closer to death, for herself and for the child inside her. In the ancient world, a woman traveling alone was exposed, her safety and dignity at the mercy of strangers or the elements. There is no one to plead her case, no law to shield her, no family to call her back. Hagar's body, already marked by servitude, now becomes a liability, heavy with risk. The desert does not care if she is carrying a future. Survival is not guaranteed. A voice breaks the silence of the desert. Hagar, bent by hunger and fear, hears a command that cuts through her despair. Return to your mistress and submit to her. These words do not come from a place of comfort, but from a messenger of God who meets her at the edge of survival. The instruction is not an easy one. It sends her back to the very household that cast her out, to the woman who made her life unbearable. Yet the message does not end with surrender. The angel speaks a promise into her exhaustion. I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. In a world where a slave's future is always at risk, this is not a gentle assurance. It is a lifeline. The survival of her child and the hope of a future beyond this moment depend on this return. Hagar listens, caught between terror and hope, realizing that her story is not invisible after all. The desert, once a place of erasure, becomes the ground where she is seen and given a future. In the wasteland where hope should have dried up, Hagar does something no one else in the ancient world had dared. She names God, and she calls him El Roi, the God who sees me. The Hebrew root for ROI carries the sense of ongoing vision, not a single glance, but a gaze that lingers, that follows, that refuses to look away. Bir Lahai Roy, the well where she stands, means the well of the living one who sees me. In this moment, Hagar is not a servant, not a possession, not a cast-off. She becomes the first person in Scripture to give God a name, and the name is shaped by her suffering. The act is both defiance and surrender, a declaration that her pain has not gone unnoticed. El Roi is not a distant judge, but a God whose eyes find her in her lowest place. The desert, stripped of everything familiar, becomes holy ground because she is seen. In the language of her naming, the ache of invisibility is met by the intimacy of being known. Ishmael's cry pierces the stillness of the wilderness. Genesis records that God heard the voice of the boy where he was. There is no temple, no altar, no priest, only a mother's despair and a child's fading breath beneath the desert sun. Yet the text insists God heard them, not from a distance, not as an idea, but as presence that finds them in the sand. The well appears, water springing up where death seemed certain. Hagar's eyes are opened, and the boy lives. The God who saw Hagar now listens to her son. The story is not just about being seen, but about being heard in the hour of abandonment. Hagar's story refuses to fade. Across centuries, her name is spoken in reverence and in argument. In Second Temple writings, she becomes a symbol. Her exile turned into allegory, her pain weighed against the promise of freedom. Early Christian readers debated her meaning, and in Islamic tradition, Hagar is honored as the matriarch whose endurance gave rise to a nation. Her encounter at the well is not locked in the past. It echoes through prayers, rituals, and the memory of all who have wandered unseen. The God who met her in the desert is remembered not for distant power, but for drawing close to the abandoned. Hagar remains a witness. Her survival, her naming, her legacy testify that to be seen in suffering is to carry hope forward, even when the world looks away. Loneliness still carves out silent deserts in modern lives. Yet, the ache of being unseen becomes the very place where presence meets pain. Sometimes, being truly seen is its own miracle.